Hi, my name is James Hughes, and I would like to welcome you to the BIM Project Suite Invisibility Advisor presentation. ATG is a platinum level Autodesk software provider. A platinum partner is someone who has the best customer service, best technical support, and best customer retention across authorized resellers. I'll take just a second to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a licensed architect in the state of Arkansas, and I have just over 13 years of architectural experience. For the past 5.5 years, I've been an AEC industry specialist with ATG. So now my full-time job is helping architects primarily, interior designers, landscape architects, engineers, and contractors with Autodesk software, as well as a number of other technical services like our team augmentation services and Revit training. And whenever I teach Revit fundamentals, I spend some time discussing best practices for solving invisibility issues in Revit. In fact, a lot of times I'll ask if anyone has experienced invisibility issues, and every time I've asked that question in a group setting, hands have gone up or people just kind of moan and are like, yeah. and, and so the answer to that is if you've been using Revit for about 5 minutes, you've probably experienced what this webinar is about, invisibility issues within the software. I hope you enjoy learning about the capabilities of Invisibility Advisor as a valuable tool within what's called the BIM project suite, and it will save you a lot of time and frustration. So what is BIM project suite? The core function of BIM project suite is that it allows users to automate tedious routine tasks. It's software that's developed by CTC Software. You can see that logo right there kind of in the middle right-hand part of the screen. It's currently comprised of 19 tools. You can see those in green across the bottom center that allow users to manage large numbers of content files, generate database information, and much, much more, all within the Revit environment. BIM Project Suite is meant for everyday users of all skill levels and used by firms of all sizes. You can see Invisibility Advisor is circled there, just past the left middle. Sometimes it can be infuriating to derive why an element is not visible in a particular view in your Revit model. Often, users waste a lot of time digging through the 60 reasons why an element is not visible. Actually, it's just a little bit north of 60 if you start to compound issues. So today, we'll talk about the methods and best practices to troubleshoot invisibility issues. We will introduce Invisibility Advisor, a tool that can help you rapidly discover, examine, learn about, and fix invisibility issues. To access those features, we will explore its user interface. We will step through the process of using Invisibility Advisor, including available options. And lastly, we will examine the results Invisibility Advisor provides and talk through the 3 methods of resolution that you might choose to use while operating Invisibility Advisor. 9 years ago, back in 2011, a group of Revit users posted on Revit Forum a list of reasons why you might not be able to see elements within a view. That list grew as users contributed to the forum thread. You can see the hyperlink to that forum thread. And it's still active too, by the way. And so if you Googled Revit invisible view or Revit, why is my stuff invisible? You're going to find that link at the top of that search. So that forum post sat at 33 reasons for several years, which is when I developed the shrunken infographic that you're seeing on the left-hand side with all the blue squares. And over 8 years, users have discovered that this number has ramped up to an intimidating 60 plus reasons, which would almost double the size of the infograph that you're only seeing partially there on the left anyways. The purpose of that infographic is to present what's called an order of operations. The possible problems are listed in order of most likely to least likely and easiest to fix to hardest to fix. It's an order of operations because it dictates the order of problem solving. So in other words, you disprove number 1 before moving to number 2. And in many cases, the fix is in the first 7 or so solutions. Now, nobody is talking about how much time Revit designers are wasting with this issue. Like I said before, anyone that's used Revit for more than 5 minutes has experienced an invisibility issue and wasted some amount of time to troubleshoot and manually resolve that issue. If you ask any BIM coordinator, what is the Revit question you get called over for help the most over, then they will tell you that users can't find something that should be there. Because of my background, I can shed some light on how big of a problem this is for firms. A few years ago, I was on ATG's support team. As a tech who specializes in Revit, many of the support cases back then came my way. And by the time someone has decided to make a technical support ticket for their invisibility issue, they've typically already burned more than 2 hours trying to resolve it themselves. Maybe not 2 steady hours, but over the course of 2 hours. And it seemed like invisibility issues were eating up about a third of my full-time support caseload. Not only were there a high volume of the cases, but the time to resolution is extremely long because of the wide landscape of contributing factors. The whole time that you're trying solutions, the customer keeps telling you that they've already checked that. So we would still check fundamental items, which you can see in the top 5 there, although it's pretty small. And we discovered that the list of invisibility issues as a technical support process to connect our customers to the fastest means of resolution by following a process. So as we started distributing this list of likely issues, customers were asked to disprove number 1 before moving to number 2, and following this process brought down the volume of repeat support cases and connected users to a very manual but organized path to fixing their issue. And it also lets them save face in the privacy of their own embarrassing discoveries. If you are not going to purchase a CTC BIM Project Suite subscription, at least you'll want to do a Google search for those 33 reasons and try to get yourself something printed out so that you can follow that process of manually discovering the issue. Because if not, what you'll find is that most people have about 8 of these things that they can do off the top of their head, and they'll sort of be, randomly from around the list. And then at some point they're just going to say, I don't know. And unfortunately, with an invisibility issue, you normally can't just delete the element, or you can't see it to delete it. You can't just create another one because it will likely disappear as well. So it's not one of those things you get to throw your hands up and say, well, I guess I can't solve that one. You have to find a way to be able to solve it to move on. So if you have this list, you can usually manually discover and resolve the invisibility issue on average in about 30 minutes. Like I said, it's a long process. If you don't have this list, the amount of time that you waste is going to be greater than 30 minutes. You might duplicate a view that can see the element, but spend another 30 minutes in visibility graphics setting the view up to be different. Now, CTC, who developed the software, they poll, and they have estimated the average Revit user spends 2 to 4 hours a week resolving object visibility issues. That's how big the problem is. And we'll talk more about this wasted time in just a few moments. But for now, this takes us through the best practices of how to manually solve visibility issues if you don't have Invisibility Advisor. So what is Invisibility Advisor? It's one of the 19 tools in the BIM Project Suite. 6 of the tools are free tools. Notice that they are lighter in color over there on the left-hand side, so it's a light green color. Invisibility Advisor is a tool that you can use with a paid or licensed version of BIM Project Suite. And also the tools have a single installation that will install them on all supported versions of Revit, which is your current year plus the 3 previous years. So if you've got a computer that's got multiple installations, one installation of the BIM Project Suite is going to simultaneously install on all of those versions that you have installed. There are 2 licensing models, network and standalone, and it's identical licensing models to your Autodesk Revit licensing model, or at least the previous ones prior to subscription-based. Invisibility Advisor is a tool that's designed to help figure out why an object does not show in a view. Invisibility Advisor goes through all of the reasons something could be hidden in a Revit view and quickly shows you a list of issues. And you can choose to fix them manually, or in most cases have Invisibility Advisor automatically resolve the issue with a single click. And before we transition over to the live demo, I want to show you one more slide for the most important conversation that we can have out of this webinar. Let's talk about return on investment. Now, 2 slides ago, we said that CTC estimates that the average Revit user spends 2 to 4 hours a week resolving object visibility issues. And if you take a look here on the chart, that's represented on the low side of that estimate with the gray bar, and on the high side of that estimate with the green bar. That's, and your numbers are probably going to vary from that, but just that estimate is staggering. Let's assume a billable rate of $65 an hour. This equates to $6,700 to $13,500 per year per user in manual visibility resolution workflows. Now, I've also drawn a red dashed line that you see across the middle. That's our middle average. So if we're saying we're not sure if we're on the low side or the high side, that middle average is at $10,100 a year that's spent on this problem. Now, if your numbers are much more conservative than the polling results that CTC has, I've also included a red one there, the 1 hour per week time savings. So if you're pretty nifty in Revit and you're not losing things frequently, if it's just an hour a week, then that would be that red bar that you see there. That's still $3,400 per year per Revit user. Now, you may wonder, how many hours would one of my users need to waste in a year to make the BIM project suite pay for itself? So if you take a look at the cost of the BIM project suite, it's over there in that turquoise color there. And consider that there are 19 tools in that BIM project suite, all designed to save you time. Then each tool needs to save you about 23 minutes per year for it to pay for itself. So maybe a better question is, do you think that you are likely to spend 23 minutes or more in 2021 or here at the end of the year dealing with invisibility issues of your own or with helping a coworker? So the whole BIM project suite costs $550 or roughly that. There's different, slightly different pricing schemes for volume of installation for the first year's subscription. And you can see the subscription cost there in that turquoise color. But CTC's customers are telling them that this one tool out of the 19 solves a more than $3,400 a year problem. So over there on the right-hand side, that is an image reference of what $10,000 looks like in your hands. So that's kind of a valuable slide to have up because not many people are going to hold $10,000 in cash at once, but that's what we're talking about losing. And this is why we can't pretend that this isn't a problem or is, the cost of doing business. I would like for that image to represent $10,000 that you get to hold on to year after year. So to determine your ROI, you should absolutely do your own polling and use your own billable rate. All right, so next we're going to swap over to our live demonstration of Invisibility Advisor. I've got Revit running in the background, so give me just a second here. All right. So here we've got our commercial building. We've got a training room 1, and right now we are in the code plan. And if I wanted to start showing egress paths out of the training room 1 here, I might want to consider what types of furniture that we've got inside of that room. Now, I know that the furniture's already been placed in there, but for some reason it is not showing on the code plan. Normally, your first step whenever something like this happens, you're just going to go to Visibility Graphics. So I can type VG for Visibility Graphics, or I can go to View, Visibility Graphics, either way. And we scroll down, and sure enough, furniture is unchecked. So we'll check that dude, hit Apply, hit OK. Ooh, where's my furniture? Did I click the right one? Okay, that didn't work. And I'll tell you from experience and from instructing people and from tech support that normally when something doesn't work, people go right back and they put it back the way it was. And so they might uncheck furniture again and say, well, it wasn't that. And then they will never actually discover what's happened with this furniture because we're dealing with something that's a little bit more complicated than simply checking or unchecking that. So the next step, you might click on this light bulb, see if stuff has been manually hidden, reveal hidden elements. I mean, I can see section markers have been hidden and other categories of stuff and some individual elements, but there is still no furniture. So that's a dead end too. This is pretty common that this type of thing happens where it's neither of the easiest things that you check, unfortunately. So let's launch Invisibility Advisor, and we'll talk a little bit about what it does, and then we'll see if it's able to help us resolve the invisibility issue that we're facing here. So most of our work as architects is done from the architecture ribbon. When you choose to purchase or even just the trial of CTC software, you should try it free for 14 days. Just download it, and then you get to keep using the free tools thereafter. So it's definitely worth that time to be able to select it, do some of the free tools. But it installs under this ribbon called CTC software. And if I toggle over to that, I can see now I've got all the CTC software tools that are Revit specific installed here. There are a lot. In fact, there's lots of them hidden under other shelves here. But we're talking specifically about BIM project suite. So let me drag that down just for clarity. And you guys saw the screenshot of that just a little bit ago. Each one of these tools is designed to save me time and frustration dealing with common Revit issues that maybe out of the box Revit doesn't do or doesn't do well. So here is Invisibility Advisor. We'll launch it. Of course, everything's popping up on other screens. That's just how demos go, right? And I'll drag this dude back up here. All right, so here is Invisibility Advisor sitting on top of Revit from within the Revit workspace. And we're going to talk just a little bit about some of the user interface elements before I just jump in and resolve this problem of the missing furniture. The first thing that I would recommend is that you leave this selection only checked. And this allows Invisibility Advisor to exist in a modeless state, which allows you to actually click over into the Revit environment while Invisibility Advisor stays inactive but on top. And so it keeps the software open and allows for easy selection of items. When you select an item, it will populate inside of this drop down here. And in fact, it's got the unique element ID listed here as well. So if you need to get very specific with which elements you don't see, a lot of times that happens not for a simple invisibility issue, but if you've got things that are causing corruption in your project, maybe you've run an audit and it flags those unique element IDs and you need to find them and maybe they're not visible in a view, you'll have some means to be able to punch in those element IDs here as a selection type inside of Invisibility Advisor. Very commonly, when you're dealing with invisibility issues, the user can see the objects in one view, maybe in a 3D view, maybe they can see it in a different plan view, but they can't see it in the view that they're trying to do work within. Now, this is the easiest way to operate Invisibility Advisor is if you can see objects within some view. And so we'll resolve this from there if we can find one of these views where I can see the furniture. But before I get to that, let's talk a little bit about some of these options at the top. When you download a trial for BIM Project Suite, launch a tool, and the very first thing you should do is click on this videos button here, and it will take you to YouTube to a very specific video or video set about that particular tool. So here, with a 16-minute commitment, I could learn everything there is to learn about Invisibility Advisor, or you can post questions to me and we'll see if I can answer it for you as well. We've also got the ability to start a technical support issue. So if this project is going out, let's say in a month, and I've got to get this furniture showing in this view, or it's going to put me behind on my deadline, and Invisibility Advisor is not working as advertised. Now, I understand it could be user error, but I think that the software is not working correctly. If that's the case, I'm going to click this support button, and it's going to fire up a ticket with ATG technical support, and they're going to contact you within an hour to be able, or maybe it's a 2-hour SLA. They're going to contact you pretty quickly to get to the bottom of the problem that you're experiencing with the CTC software. And then our resolution in the same day numbers are extremely high. And so we've got a direct route to CTC development team and their support to be able to get to the bottom of these, in some cases even faster than complicated Autodesk support tickets. So we've got the option to launch support questions here as well. If I click this down arrow underneath Invisibility Advisor, and this is true on all of the CTC BIM Project Suite tools, I've got a couple of other extra features that are sort of filed away here. One is request feature. So if Invisibility Advisor works in, lots and lots of ways, but I wish that it had maybe a more intuitive way of selecting the object, or whatever feature it is that I wish that Invisibility Advisor has, I would click here and request that feature, and then that is going to show up on the desk of the development team at CTC, and they will throw it. No, they're not going to throw it away. They're going to look at it in combination with other requests, and basically evaluate how many people are asking for a feature, evaluate the significance of the feature, maybe in time they perceive could be saved, and they're also going to evaluate it in terms of the complexity of introducing that feature. So they've kind of got their own matrix for determining their development path, but you do want to request a feature here if you want that. That's certainly better than Autodesk feature requests, which I promise will more or less go into the abyss. And then we've got the ability to report a bug. So if Invisibility Advisor is not working correctly, but it's not holding up your project, you just notice something funky or something is not working right, or maybe an error pops up, but it's okay because the software is either still working regardless, or it's not holding you up. Then you would just report a bug, and then that way, it's not going to start a ticket where someone's going to reach out to help you, but it is going to have people take a look at that issue to resolve it. So these are kind of our common interface elements. The rest of Invisibility Advisor is pretty straightforward. We've got the selection of items that we want. So I'm going to close this down and actually open up a view, not close the whole thing down. Hang on a second. I don't know why I toggle back. All right, so if I can see the furniture over in a finished plan, let me make sure I get the correct, I'm not calling it first floor, but we'll check our lower floor here. Don't save. Don't auto save. Wrong floor. Main floor. Here we go. Yeah. So I can see the furniture in this classroom. Let me do this side by side. So I'll do a window tile here. I just typed in WT. And if I select a furniture object over here in the view where I can see it in our main floor finish plan, but then I toggle over to the code plan. You guys ever seen this before, where it actually has temporary dimensions to a thing, you just can't see the thing? That's a pretty clear indication that it does exist, you just aren't seeing it. And that's what's happening here in this code plan. So this desk does exist. It's not just, dumb lines or detail lines that were drawn in this one view, and it actually doesn't exist in any other view. That's there's lots of trickery or things that could be going on besides just something being turned off or switched off or being filtered out. So we've seen that it should be over here, but it is not. At this point, I'm going to relaunch Invisibility Advisor. Keep showing up over there. There we go. Sorry, I've got 4 screens here, and it's just all over the place. I want to leave selection only checked, as I mentioned just a little bit ago. That means that I can just come over and select a chair. And then whenever I click back in Invisibility Advisor, it should populate this list here. Now, I've also got the ability to filter out that list if it has lots of objects in it. So if in my selection, if I had done something more like this, and then I looked at this list, it's got all of those unique instances listed here in this lineup. And then I might have to truncate that list down, right? So if I know it's got chair in it, then here I can start to filter that by typing in chair, and now it's limited that to just the chairs that were in that selection there. So I'm going to select it differently. I'll just click on the thing or one of the things that I can't see. I see that it's got that one thing selected. That's pretty much the same thing as choosing select element, but you've also got the ability to click select element, and then this goes into a modeless state, and I can come over and click it. Like most Revit commands, I prefer to pre-select the thing before I start it. I mentioned earlier that if you know the element ID, normally you obtain those with an audit or a warning, and it sort of lists out the thing that's a problem. It's not often that people have the unique element ID of the thing that they're looking for. But if you have that, you can punch this in and type it in, and that way you won't make a mistake. If you've got object on top of object, or lots of similar things, and you can't visually pick it out, that's probably your only way to do that. And I mentioned earlier that the easiest way and the most common way to run Invisibility Advisor is if you do have a view that can see the element. It's just, other views do not. If you have no view, or you can't discover a view where you can see the object, then you're going to need to do what I call Plan B, which is select by crossing. So if you selected that and then you drew a window across the area where it should be, then select by crossing is going to create this almost like a shaft through the project through infinity. So if it's a really tall building and you do that in a floor plan, it's going to look at every floor in that XY area, and then all the way, not infinitely, but very, very high and very low in the Z directions. And then it will fill out this list of all the objects in that area. So that's a possibility. It takes a while. I mean, it's very processor intensive, and it could take more than a minute. So this is one that you do only if you don't have a view for it. Here is basically the only way to mess up with Invisibility Advisor. I may yet invent another way to do it, but the most common way is by not selecting the correct target view. It's going to make an assumption based upon which view you had active when you started the command, but you do want to make sure, and I got it backwards here because I had this one active when I started it. I want to make sure that I can see the furniture in the code plan. So I'm going to change that. And at this point, I'm ready to find that element and see what's going on. So I'll choose Find Element. Oh, sorry. It did it quickly, and then I dragged it up. So that was about, I don't know, a third of a second. And Revit ran through all of the situations that could cause those visibility issues, and it has listed them out here. I've got some extra data on what that chair is, just in case I needed to make sure that I got the correct item here. And what we're seeing over here, see these green stripes? That is Invisibility Advisor's way of telling you that it knows that this is a problem. And so almost certainly that is causing an issue. Normally it's just one, but here we've actually got 3 stacked green stripes, which means that we've got most likely a compound issue or issues that are happening here. And then I've got a gray one here where it says unknown. This is just Invisibility Advisor being honest with you. Hey, this thing could have happened. It's still a possibility, but try these green things first. And if you work your way down and you still can't see it, it could be this thing. Notice that we have 3 modes of resolving this. We'll talk about each one of them here in just a moment. So one thing that we can do is we can choose to have Invisibility Advisor show us what the issue is. Now, this doesn't always work, but whenever you click on the show button, what Invisibility Advisor does is it should zoom you to the area where you need to look at making a change. So let me click show for the view filters. It gives me a warning that this could affect lots of other issues. Now I could check don't show this again, but because I'm demoing this, I need to keep that up there to remind me that is a pop-up that does happen. All right, so it has jumped over to Visibility Graphics, and from here I can actually see that there is a filter, halftone instance element, and so there are some elements that are set to be halftoned here. It's interesting. I'm going to cancel on that. And for this one, I'm going to just have it perform the fix. It gives me the same warning. And I'm going to do a check again, and we'll see if that item falls off from the top. Okay, so it made a change to the filters. I'm kind of curious what it's done. So I'm going to go back to Visibility Graphics. I should have taken a mental snapshot here, but it has altered the filter so that the element's no longer filtered out. Unfortunately, I still can't see it over here. So we know that there's still some other issues going on here. Now, one of the things that can happen if I were to just choose the fix element is that in some cases, Invisibility Advisor might actually make a change that I think is kind of a wonky change or not the way I would do it. So we'll see if we get an example of this. So here we've got a view range issue. So either the cut plane is set wrong, or the object is above the cut plane, or something like that is happening with our view range. So if I choose to fix this, we'll do a check again, and that item has now dropped off the list. I will click in this current view here, and we'll scroll down to where the view range is and choose Edit. Yeah, so Chris is telling me that it was the same. I may have actually had clicked in the finish plan, maybe actually why that was showing incorrectly. I probably should have activated the code plan if I wasn't careful to do that. Where are you, view range? I'm sure you're behind one of my screens here. Hang on a second. Let me give this another go. Hit escape. Come on, view range. Don't be behind stuff. I'm getting chimes. Interesting. Let me see if I can access, I don't know if nope, no view templates applied, so I can't access it that way. Let me try restoring this down a bit. I've never had that pop-up not show up on top. Well, I can't investigate view range for some really unknown reason here. Okay, well, one thing that can happen in view range is, you've got 4 settings in there. You've got a top, you've got a bottom, you've got your view range and the cut plane. Oftentimes, Invisibility Advisor might actually reset the bottom to be, some kind of a fractional inch or something that just brings the element into view. Scope box is set, Danya says. All right, let's have a look. That's what happens when it's not your data set, right? All right, so we've unset the scope box. It is still not giving me a view range here. All right, let me get back to Invisibility Advisor. All right, so like I mentioned before, it can actually take an element or change the view range to a fractional inch. And so for that reason, and maybe a couple of other strange things that it could do, your preference in a lot of cases is not going to be to click on the fix element object or fix element possibility here. Let me find this guy again. Ooh, that's stretched out. There we go. It looks like I've got another issue here. And so just a minute ago, I clicked on the fix button and it just fixed the view range to allow for that to be visible. Last one here, the associated work set is invisible. If I choose to fix that one, then the last compound issue apparently has been resolved. And so now that work set has been made visible, and I can do check again, and then that last green one should drop off. Now, if I still didn't see this furniture over here, then I might consider this gray one. This gray one could actually be subtitled, I don't know, you could work with evil coworkers. And so, if they draw on top of the edges of this with invisible lines, that's just Invisibility Advisor saying, it doesn't have access to that part of the program code to be able to check that. It's just saying that's possible, and that's when it's flagged gray. I've seen other gray related issues with design options. We still don't have the ability to reach within the design options and determine that an object was sitting in there and to be able to yank it out of that design option to be able to fix the issue. So at this point, we can click done because it has resolved the visibility of that object. Again, you've got the ability to choose select by crossing and then window over an area. I've still got one chair that's not showing up there. And I can see it over here. I just had fun with this. I kind of made a few extra changes to it just to see if Invisibility Advisor would be able to find it. So we can actually, I created design options and placed it on a different one. So from here, I can, now that I've got this exclude options unchecked, I can select that chair, make sure that I want to see it in the code plan, choose find element. Yeah, and from here, it's actually looked and found. And oddly enough, it isn't just throwing a flag because design options were created. It actually has the ability to see that object existing in a design option. It just really can't do anything to change the visibility of that object. So at some point, I'm going to need to, keeps jumping back over. I'm going to need to go to manage design options, and yeah, clearly I've got an evil coworker who's made design options, and I can accept these and sort of lump it down, or I can select the element and push that to other work sets. All right. I like that Danya knows what's going on with the scope box. I've actually not seen that issue before with the view range not showing up. Well, it shows up. I actually have to hit escape to get out of it. It just doesn't come on top of things. And I don't know if that's a 2021 issue or if that's a James issue there. But it's interesting. It's always going to be something to kind of throw a monkey wrench in a live demo for sure. All right, so think a little bit too about the amount of time that coworkers or your sort of BIM Jedi, your people that know a lot about BIM are using up whenever they're called over to someone's desk. Because by the time they're called over, that person that they're helping hasn't wanted to embarrass themselves, so they've probably spent quite a while looking for the object, and now you're using up arguably even more valuable time of someone that's an expert on it. They're going to have to run through maybe 30 to 60 things to be able to make that object show up as visible. Ooh, I got a tip from Andrew. Ooh, I'm going to try that out in the chat. So I'm going to give it one more go. I know I've given it 5 goes, and you guys are like, give up, James. The view range is not your thing. So here in the code plan, if I want to examine what's happened with the view range, I click edit, it's not showing up. Andrew is saying try pressing Alt plus spacebar. Bonk. And then select move. I see move. Select move. And then use the arrow keys to jostle it. All right, arrowing. And then it will be stuck to your mouse. Andrew, I'm not going to ask how you obtain this information. Let's just admit that's some weird knowledge for you to have there, Andrew, but I dig it. I like that. I didn't want to burn up the full hour trying to figure out why view range was no longer on top. All right, so here, let me finish the point that I was trying to get into view range for. So we just had Invisibility Advisor automatically fix it, and I don't like that it set the bottom to 7/256 of an inch, but that's sort of the edge of the thing that Revit saw that it needed to come down to, or come up to be able to make that object visible. So it may be possible with this chair, someone has hovered at 7/256 of an inch up in space. So, I mean, it may actually be a good indicator for you that there's still something weird going on that you should attend to. But it's an example of why you might not want to automatically fix. You might want it to do show and have Invisibility Advisor pop up the screen for you to be able to make those changes in. Thanks a lot, Andrew. That really wouldn't have happened without you in your 7-step process to get that to show up. I do appreciate that. Before I jump out of this, is there any other questions? I'm kind of watching chat and the question and answer area to see if you guys, wanted to see something or had a question about Invisibility Advisor. I'll bring it back up on screen just in case something jogs your curiosity. It's pretty straightforward. Here you have your element selection and the ability to filter it, and then your selection process, your 3 choices for that. And then you have the view that you need to see the thing in. And then there's that second screen once you find the element that tells you, your either single issue, which normally is just one issue, or your compound issue. Let's see, we should have the view that has the element. Right, so Chris is asking about the select by crossing is what you would need to do. So if we don't have a view where I can see that chair, let me do it to a different object. We'll do something simple. We'll just, plain hide something. That's pretty straightforward to do. So I can select this object, hide in view element. Now, of course, I could just hit the, reveal hidden elements, and I would see that. That's a real easy one to do. But let's see how long it takes Invisibility Advisor to kind of tunnel through the plan and find that object. So we'll launch Invisibility Advisor. We're going to choose select by crossing. And I know it should be somewhere over here, so I'm going to do something like that. And the pinwheel starts spinning. It's not too big of a building. I'm hopeful that it will grab a selection of, probably, who knows, 20 things that happen across that window that I drew. Right, so Chris is curious about a CAD Link. So I know that it works with linked Revit elements. There's actually an option within the options button up there in the top left that I didn't point out yet. So we'll open up options here in just a minute and let you see that. But it does have a checkbox for you to allow it to look through a linked item. Whether or not it's going to work with a CAD file, I haven't tested that, honestly. It should, because that is a Revit element. It is, well, I'm thinking of a converted detail. If you've just got a link of a CAD, well, it's still an object. Yeah, that inserted piece has a unique Revit ID within it, and it is still behaving by the rules by which things can be hidden inside of Revit. So, Chris, I'm gonna stick my neck out and say that it will find a missing or an invisible CAD link. Not objects, not AutoCAD objects within the CAD link. That's going to probably be an import issue. Usually if you're not seeing something within a CAD link that you've brought in, that's because you chose to only bring over the visible layers, and someone may have turned off some layers in AutoCAD, and then you chose to import by visible, thereby not showing all of the turned off layers. So that one's on you to fix that one. You might just need to re-import that link. That'd be a pretty quick fix too. Still looking, man, some tunnel, huh? It's going all the way through. Hey, we got a selection. All right, so from this, it has now populated. Wow, there are quite a few things here. That was some kind of a desk. I hope that they named it something with desk in it. So let me try. Nope, they surely did not use desk. Let's do fern. See if we can limit it to that. Nope, that's the chairs. Oh, how am I going to find this thing? Let me cancel the filters. 83 to choose from. Let me see if it seems obvious here. Room separation lines, nope. Sketch lines, nope. Dimensions, no. All right, so we got some casework here. That could be it. 3 foot by 2 foot 1. I don't know, that seems small. Must be on a different floor. Ceilings, no. Doors, nope. Room tags, rooms, walls, windows. Here we go. Office furniture, chair. No, it's the chairs. Rooms, walls. No, it must be that. It's got to be, right? The casework piece right there. I mean, I guess. So if we select That object, we'll try this out. And then we want to see it in the code plan. Let's find the element. Hey, I guessed right. Object's hidden in view. Yay, fix it. I don't even care, Revit, just fix it, or Invisibility Advisor. So it fixed it. Oh, don't skip out. Looks like I'm trying to slam dunk my presentation. So it found it. Now, granted, it took, what, 3 minutes to form that selection set of 83 objects, extending in what must be near infinite Z directions up and down. But it found all the objects that cross that from that list. If I could filter it down in a more smart way, but by process of elimination, I say, well, it's probably the only casework piece in that. We were able to bring that one back. So that was fun. All right, let me wrap things up. Make sure you guys have the rest of your day to look forward to here. So just wrapping up the presentation, Invisibility Advisor saves the user a substantial amount of time and money pursuing manual solutions to invisibility issues. I know we wrestled with Invisibility Advisors with the pop-up view range and with the selection window across it, which probably took 4 minutes. But man, even if I only had to check 2 or 3 things to resolve that problem manually, it still beat that amount of time. If that kind of opens your eyes to just how much time we're talking about is normally wasted on this kind of thing. Invisibility Advisor can discover the actual factors affecting an object's invisibility. So I didn't point this out. That's a failure on my part. Let me jump this open one more time here, just to show you something that we can. Actually, let me hide this one more time. And open up my main floor finish plan so I can see one. I'll just be a little bit faster here. Invisibility Advisor. So I'm just letting Invisibility Advisor find another thing here. So I can select it in this one. When I return here, it's populated it, and I want to set the view to code plan, find the element. All right, so we talked about fixing it and showing it, but we didn't talk about this one. So if you have users in your firm that are frequently losing stuff, it seems like it's only them that's frequently, or they're the only ones calling you over anyways. There's an education maybe that needs to happen, and you may not actually know why something's hidden, and so it may be a little bit of an education for you too. But when the user finds this, and again, this is part of the BIM project suite, which we said belongs in the hand of every user. So not just your BIM coordinator or your BIM manager. Every user should have access to this so they can fix this stuff themselves. If they still involve you, you should show them this question mark, this more button. And so if an object is hidden in view, that's a really basic thing. Like they absolutely need to click the more thing here. And this gives them basically a narrative of what they did wrong, so that they can learn from, why it's invisible and what they should not do to cause that problem in the future. And so this is kind of why Invisibility Advisor is earning that name. It's not just Invisibility Fixer. It's actually advising you as to how you can fix the thing, but also how you can prevent that sort of time-wasted adventure that you would be on otherwise here by educating us on it. So that's also an important thing, is hitting that question mark to be able to figure out why the object was hidden in the first place. So advice is offered to assist with understanding why the object's not visible. You guys just saw that. And in many cases, an instant fix option is available to resolve the visibility issue. There's just a couple of corners inside of Revit where the Invisibility Advisor can tell you what's wrong or what's likely to be a problem, but it can't actually reach in there and fix that. I told you about invisible lines on the object, and I told you about design options. It's actually able to look inside and see it in the design option. It just can't do the fix for you. You're going to have to do that one yourself. Also, you can see here in the main conclusion that you could start a 14-day trial of BIM Project Suite. If you follow that link, now this is going to be available to you by YouTube here in the following couple of days, but if you want to snap a picture of that, that's a quick and easy way to download a 14-day trial. A lot of people during the season of COVID have actually got, some amount of time, not like a whole day, but in the next 2 weeks, people have got a little bit of time to kick the tires on the software. You may have seen another tool in that list and said, "Man, I want to see what Quick Select is about," because it's pretty awesome. And the renumbering tool is pretty awesome. And those are free tools. And so even if you think, well, I'm not paying that for the BIM project suite, get it for at least those two free tools. They're amazing. And actually all the tools are fully operable for that 2 weeks. So this concludes the webinar, Invisibility Advisor. See if you guys can look for Waldo while I'm wrapping this up. As you can see, this is a powerful time-saving tool, and that's what's key about it. It's also a frustration thing. I mean, any kind of a tool that you can put in your users' hands that keeps them from rage quitting or crashing their keyboard through the monitor, that's a good thing. So if anyone is interested in learning more about the other BIM Project Suite tools, we would welcome the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with you. Just shoot an email to your ATG account rep. If you're not yet an ATG customer, you can just call that number that you see on the bottom of the screen, and we'll have an account manager reach out to you to discuss next steps. Do you support the tools if it is a user error? Chris, we actually do, yes. That is still, in fact, I think our technical support would lovingly tell you that a lot of what they do is helping people save face when a user error has occurred. So we do support Autodesk software and now CTC tools, where a lot of times it is an input error or just someone's clicked the wrong thing. They didn't select the correct view, to fix the invisibility issue in. Like if I had left that on the default furniture plan, Invisibility Advisor would have been like, well, it's basically visible, so it wouldn't have returned, things for me to fix. And so if you make a user error like that, our support's going to get you fixed up pretty quickly there. Let me just say this last thing, there is a surprising amount of time to be saved in automatically restoring objects to view. And I hope that point has resonated with you guys. I'm James Hughes. I hope this was valuable to you in learning Invisibility Advisor's capabilities. Goodbye and have a great rest of the day.